First of all, I would like to thanks to the grace of heaven, the virtue of our holy teachers, and the mercy of 老前人 and 前人 and Tao transmitting masters, and all of you to give me this opportunity to share the great learning aid with you. We discussed the chapter 5, gewu and zhizhi last time. It talks about the first 2 steps of the 8 steps of learning. This is a bottom-up view of the 8 steps of learning, and it clearly shows that the foundation are gewu and zhizhi. Gewu means investigating things or eradicating desires, while zhizhi means extending knowledge or awakening conscience. This is the structure of the great learning. Chapters 5 to 10 explore the 8 steps of learning in detail, and I will quickly review the chapter 5 now. The chapter 5 of the great learnings talks about investigating things, extending knowledge, which are the first 2, gewu and zhizhi. In the 8 steps of the learning, this is called knowing the root. This is what it means to extend knowledge to the extreme. Clearly, these 2 sentences do not convey any meaningful message related to the title of this chapter, as the original text meant to explain this section has unfortunately been lost over time. Zhu wrote a commentary on this chapter. In his commentary, Zhu interprets gewu as investigating things and zhizhi as extending knowledge. The above text is chapter 5 of the Great Learning, originally written by Zhengzi, to explain the meaning of investigating things and extending knowledge, but it has been lost over time. I once borrowed Cheng Yi's ideas to supplement the original meaning as follows. The extension of knowledge lies in the investigation of things. This means that to fully expand our knowledge, we should start from the phenomena of things and diligently explore their essence and principles. Every human mind possesses innate perceptive wisdom, and all things in the world follow natural laws. However, since we have not thoroughly investigated the principles of things, our knowledge remains incomplete. Therefore, the great learning first instructs learners to investigate the things they encounter, delving deeper from known principles to attain the highest level of understanding. When sufficient effort has been made and the heart suddenly becomes enlightened, at that moment, everything, whether external appearances, inner essence, details, contours, or interrelations, will be fully comprehended in the mind. Only then can it be said that the principles of things have been thoroughly investigated, and only then can it be called the ultimate attainment of knowledge. This paragraph is supplemented by Cheng Yi. When we keep putting in effort to understand something day after day, our heart may suddenly become enlightened one day. This sudden moment of enlightenment is not magic, it comes from deep and steady learning. Then the mind becomes sharp, open, and complete. This is what the Confucian tradition calls the ultimate attainment of knowledge. It is more than just collecting facts. It's about reaching the highest level of understanding, where knowledge is not just in the brain, but alive in the heart and guides our actions naturally. We also discussed the 2 major schools in Neo-Confucianism, the school of principle and the school of mind. Their roots may actually be traced back to a single sentence from the doctrine of the mean. It says, "Therefore, a junzi, a virtuous person, esteems his virtuous nature and follows the path of inquiry and learning." This one line gave rise to 2 different interpretations. and two different approaches to self-cultivation. The school of principle, represented by thinkers like zhizhi, focused on the part that says, follows the path of inquiry and learning. They believed that by studying the world, understanding universal principles, and investigating things carefully, a person could gain wisdom and improve in self-cultivation. On the other hand, the school of mind, led by figures like Lu Jiuyuan and later Wang Yangming, emphasized esteeming one's virtuous nature. They believed that moral goodness is already present within the heart-mind. Instead of looking outward to study the world, one should look inward to awaken the original moral sense that is already there. In short, the school of principle looks outward to understand the world. The school of mind looks inward to understand the mind. Both aim for the same goal, virtue and wisdom, but take very different paths to get there. In fact, from the original text, we can see that both are essential and neither can be omitted. We also compared the Zhizhi's school of principle and Wang Yangming's school of mind. Zhizhi interprets gewu as investigation of things, while Wang Yangming interprets gewu as eradication of selfish desires. In short, while Zhizhi focused on external study and gradual cultivation, Wang Yangming focused on inner awakening and the cultivation of the mind. I'd like to introduce one of the most important ideas in Wang Yangming's philosophy, his famous four-sentence teaching, also known as 4句教. In just 4 lines, Wang Yangming summarized the essence of the school of mind by linking it to the first 4 steps of learning in the Great Learning, offering a concise and complete guide to self-cultivation. Let's look at the 4 sentences. First, neither good nor evil is the essence of the mind. This means that before thoughts arise, the human mind is pure and undivided. It is calm, tranquil, and free from judgment or desire. In fact, this mind is sometimes referred to as the original mind, 本心. And the essence of mind is our true nature, or the Tao within us. The essence of the mind can be linked to the 4th step of learning, rectifying mind, 正心 second. Having good and evil is the arising of thought. This sentence simply states the fact that when thoughts arise in our mind, some may be good while others may be evil. Only saints and sages are free from evil thoughts in their minds. The arising of the thought can be linked to the 3rd step of learning, making thought sincere, 诚意. Third, knowing good and evil is the innate conscience. Wang Yangming called this 良知, or innate conscience. He believed that everyone is born with the ability to tell right from wrong. We don't need to learn it from the outside. It's already within us. The innate conscience can be linked to the 2nd step of learning, awakening conscience, 自治. Fourth, doing good without evil is gewu. In Zhizhi's school of principle, gewu means investigating external things to discover truth. But Wang Yangming redefined it. Gewu is the act of eliminating selfish desires and putting moral understanding into action. Doing good without evil is the 1st step of learning, eliminating desires, gewu. In short, Wang Yangming taught that true moral understanding comes from within, and that real learning must lead to action. For him, knowledge and action are one. These 4 sentences from Wang Yangming provide an excellent explanation of the first 4 steps of learning, eradicating desires, awakening conscience, making thoughts sincere, and rectifying mind. They continue to inspire people today. reminding us that wisdom begins in the mind and is fulfilled through practice. What is the true meaning of gewu and zhizhi? Zhu Xi and Wang Yangming interpret them differently, and both interpretations make sense. Here, I adopt both, as I see no conflict between them. For gewu, there are two interpretations. The first is investigate things, or more specifically, investigate the principles of things. The second is eradicate desires, or more precisely, eradicate selfish desires. The first interpretation comes from Zhu Xi, while the second is from Wang Yangming. Similarly, for zhizhi, there are two interpretations. The first is extend knowledge, or extend knowledge to the extreme, which is Zhu Xi's view. The second is awaken conscience, which is Wang Yangming's perspective. To better understand the interpretation of gewu and zhizhi from the school of mind, I would like to introduce the book 大学浅研新著 or New Commentary on the Great Learning in Plain Words. It is a unique Taoist reinterpretation of the Confucian classic, The Great Learning. It was composed in 1947 through the traditional Taoist channeling method at Qianyuan Tang in Xi'an and is attributed to Lü Dongbing, a legendary Tang Dynasty Taoist immortal. This commentary is notable for its attempt to restore and explain the lost teachings on gewu and zhizhi. Lü Dongbing, also known as Patriarch Lü, is one of the most renowned figures in Taoism and Chinese folk religion. In 大学浅研新著, Patriarch Lü warns that the decline of moral values leads to societal unrest and spiritual confusion. He calls for a return to sincerity, righteousness, and harmony with the heavenly principle, tianli. We covered some of Patriarch Lü's commentary last time, and I will quickly review it. To restore one's true nature, one must first eliminate selfish desires. This means that when greed and desire arise in the heart, one's nature deviates from the right path. When anger and hatred arise, one's nature becomes obstructed. When obsession and extravagance arise, one's nature grows restless. And when attachment and delusion arise, one's nature is led astray and altered. Therefore, to remove the impurities of the heart, one must eliminate greed and desire to correct a deviated nature. Calm anger and hatred to unblock an obstructed nature. Eradicate obsession and extravagance to stabilize a restless nature. And sever attachment and delusions to steady a wavering nature. Thus, Junzi, a virtuous person, remains vigilant before impure thoughts arise and suppresses evil thoughts the moment they emerge. Impurities of the heart obscure one's true nature, while improper actions corrupt the heart. Removing these impurities restore one to their original nature, while eliminating improper actions awakens the mind's innate purity. The true nature, the heart, and the body are inseparable, just like the roots, trunk, and branches of a plant. Let's reflect on how a virtuous person, Junzi, guards their inner minds. First, Junzi is cautious, even before impure thoughts fully arise. They don't wait for bad intentions to grow. As soon as a selfish or harmful thought begins to form, they stop it immediately. Remain vigilant before the impure thoughts arise. Why is this so important? Because impure thoughts cloud our true nature. And when our actions go astray, they further pollute our heart. Bad thoughts hide the light within. Bad behavior leaves lasting stains. That's why Patriarch Lü say, removing these impurities restore one to their original nature Eliminating improper actions awakens the mind's innate purity. Finally, we must remember, the true nature, the heart, and the body are inseparable. They move together as one, just like the roots, trunk, and branches of a living tree. When one part suffers, the whole tree is affected. When the roots are pure and healthy, the entire being flourishes. To become truly wise and compassionate, we must tend to our inner thoughts, our actions, and then restore our true nature together and continuously. Thus, a junzi, a virtuous person, remains vigilant before impure thoughts arise and suppresses evil thoughts the moment they emerge. Impurities of the heart obscure one's true nature, while improper actions corrupt the heart. Removing these impurities restore one to their original nature, while eliminating improper actions awakens the mind's innate purity. The true nature, the heart, and the body are inseparable, just like the roots, trunk, and branches of a plant. The true nature and heart reside within. Internal awakening is called self-enlightenment. External actions that manifest this enlightenment to guide others are called enlightening others. Therefore, sage within, king without. The cultivation of inner sainthood and its external benevolent manifestation are both indispensable. If impurities of the heart are allowed to grow and spread, they will inevitably obscure one's true nature. This is why saints remain vigilant before impure thoughts arise. By maintaining vigilance before such thoughts emerge, the impurities of the heart will never take root. When the heart is free from impurities, one's true nature will naturally manifest, restoring one to their original state. When improper actions become apparent, the heart has already been corrupted. Thus, sages begin eliminating their improper actions, recognizing that they failed to remain vigilant before impure thoughts arose. If one cannot be vigilant before impure thoughts arise, greed, anger, obsession, and attachment will gradually intensify and manifest in words and actions. This is what is meant by improper actions becoming apparent. Thus, eliminating improper actions is the path to awakening the mind's innate purity. People's hearts are easily influenced by external factors. The greatest fear is to begin diligently but end negligently, resulting in repeated improper actions. By constantly awakening the mind's innate purity, one can gradually restore one's true nature and ultimately attain the state of the saints. This shows that without eliminating selfish desires, one cannot truly restore one's innate conscience and true nature. Let's now reflect on how sages can move toward the state of saints. Sages are not yet perfect, but they have something crucial: the awareness that their improper actions come from a deeper place, their heart. So, they start correcting their behavior. By eliminating improper actions, sages will eventually awaken the innate purity of their mind. This awakening is not just about fixing what is seen. It's about returning to the mind's original purity. But here's the challenge. The human heart is easily moved. External temptations, emotional fluctuations, they come and go. What we fear most is this: we start with determination, but later lose our discipline. If that happens, improper actions will resurface again. So, what's the solution? We must keep awakening the heart, not just once, but continuously. If sages can hold on to this practice without slackening, they will gradually recover their true nature and eventually reach the state of the saints, who eliminate evil thought, even before it arises. In the end, it all comes back to this truth. If we don't eliminate selfish desires, then we cannot restore our innate conscience and true nature. That's why persistence is the key. A good start is important, but finishing well is what leads to sainthood. Making thoughts sincere lies in truly restoring one's true nature. When the heart is free from impure thoughts, it is called perfect harmony, the original state of conscience and true nature. When impure thoughts arise, it is called emergence, a state of confusion and chaos. Therefore, one must remain vigilant before impure thoughts arise and suppresses evil thoughts the moment they emerge. Only then can innate conscience and true nature be restored, enabling one to comprehend the highest truth. In the Confucian tradition, restoring one's true nature is central to personal growth and achievement. This passage begins by saying, making thought sincere lies in truly restoring one's true nature. That is, sincerity isn't just about honesty. It's about clearing away distractions so our original, pure nature can shine again. How do we know what that pure state looks like? The doctrine of the mean describes it using two key words, mean and harmony, 中和. Mean refers to a state before any thoughts or emotions have arisen. It is like the calm surface of a lake, undisturbed and balanced. Harmony is the natural harmony that comes from this state, peaceful, aligned, and in tune with truth. Together, this state is called perfect harmony. 中和, the condition of the heart, when it is untouched by selfish or impure thoughts. This is the state of conscience and true nature. But what happens when our thoughts are disturbed by greed, anger, delusion, and attachment? That's when we enter a state called emergence, a kind of internal noise or chaos. Our mind becomes unsettled, and we lose our connection to what is right. So, what's the solution? We must be vigilant at the earliest stage, even before these thoughts fully arise. And when the moment a selfish or harmful idea arises, we must immediately restrain it. Why does this matter? Because only by guarding our heart in this way can we restore our conscience and ultimately understand the highest truth. In other words, the path to wisdom doesn't begin with learning more, but with returning to what we already have inside a tranquil, balanced, and sincere heart. Hence, eliminating impurities from the heart to restore innate conscience is the cultivation of inner sainthood. Once this inner cultivation is perfected, even without deliberately making one's thoughts sincere, they are naturally sincere. Even without deliberately rectifying one's heart, the heart is naturally upright. Although there are 4 steps, eradicating desires, awakening conscience, making thoughts sincere, and rectifying heart, they are essentially 2, for human thoughts and intentions are both contained within the self. Thus, this also belongs to the cultivation of inner sainthood. This means that without truly restoring innate conscience, one cannot make their thoughts sincere. End of Patriarch Li's commentary. The path of inner sainthood is a journey not about outward rituals, but about purifying the heart and restoring our true nature. Confucian learning teaches us that the most essential cultivation begins from within. To truly make our thoughts sincere, we must first eliminate the impurities that cloud the heart. Only when our conscience is fully restored can sincerity and uprightness arise naturally. This is what it means by Once inner cultivation is perfected, even without deliberately making one's thoughts sincere, they are naturally sincere. Even without deliberately rectifying the heart is naturally upright. Tao cultivators may do their best to make their thoughts sincere and rectify their minds by all means. But when their true nature is fully restored, their thoughts naturally become sincere, and their hearts naturally rectified and upright. This is the ultimate state of inner harmony, of balance and harmony, where the heart rests in its original goodness, unstirred by selfish desire. Though the great learning speaks of 4 steps, gewu, investigating things, and eradicating desires, zhizhi, extending knowledge and awakening conscience, making thoughts sincere, and rectifying the heart, in fact, the first 2, eradicating desire and awakening conscience, are the foundation. Once we achieve these, the latter 2 follow effortlessly. Because thoughts and intentions dwell within ourselves, this entire process belongs to what we call inner sainthood. So, if we fail to truly awaken our conscience, then true sincerity is impossible. No matter how hard we try to correct the heart on the surface, the effort will not reach its essence. Let us remember, the key to transforming ourselves and others lies not in forcing virtue, but in cleansing the heart until goodness flows naturally. This is the Confucian way of becoming perfect human, by returning to what we were meant to be from the beginning. To conclude, let's return to the 8 steps of learning. Among these 8, the most fundamental are the bottom 2, gewu and zhizhi. As the patriarch insightfully explained, gewu is not merely investigating things in the world. It means eradicating selfish desires, clearing the inner obstacles that cloud our true nature. And zhizhi, not just extending our knowledge to the extreme, is about awakening the innate moral conscience that already exists within us. These are not just steps on a ladder, they are the foundation. When these are firmly established, and when the heart is purified and conscience restored, then the next 2 steps, making thoughts sincere and rectifying the heart, happen naturally. No enforcement is needed. You don't have to try to be sincere. Your thoughts are already sincere. You don't have to rectify your heart. Your heart is already upright. This is what the patriarch called the cultivation of inner sainthood, neisheng. It is about returning to our original nature, also called true nature, where sincerity and uprightness arise effortlessly, in harmony with the Tao. So let's not forget, what appears to be 4 steps are really 2, and the work begins within. This entire reflection is based on the patriarch's profound commentary, guiding us back to the root. Gewu and zhizhi are where true cultivation begins. Next, we will move to chapter 6, chengyi, making thoughts sincere. Making thoughts sincere means no self-deception. It is like hating foul smells and loving beautiful colors. All such feelings arising from the heart with honesty and without deceit. This is true self-satisfaction. Therefore, a junzi, a virtuous man, must watch over himself when alone. In the great learning, making thought sincere means we must not deceive ourselves. This is more than simply telling the truth to others. It is about being truthful to our own heart. The text gives a vivid image. It is like how we naturally hate a foul smell and love a beautiful color. Those feelings arise without calculation, without pretending. We dislike bad odors because it is instinctive. We like beauty because our heart is truly touched by it. In the same way, sincerity should arise from within us naturally, without the need for disguise. What the great learning calls true self-satisfaction is a genuine contentment that arises from being true to oneself, with inner thoughts and outward actions in harmony and free from hypocrisy. In addition, it says, a junzi, a virtuous person, must watch over himself even when alone. Why? Because that is the truest test of character, what we choose to do when no one else can see. In today's world, self-deception is easier than ever. We live in a world of carefully chosen images where social media lets us show only the best parts of our lives. We might post about fitness while ignoring our unhealthy habits, speak words of kindness while holding on to resentment, or promote honesty while cutting corners in private. Sometimes we even believe our own polished version of reality, pretending we live one way, when deep down we know the truth is different. Making thought sincere challenges us to strip away that self-deception. It asks us, if there were no cameras, no likes, no applause, would I still live this way? Would I still make the same choices if no one ever found out? When we can answer, yes, we have reached a place where integrity is real, not just a performance. A person who makes their thoughts sincere doesn't need constant reminders to behave. Their actions flow naturally from a heart that is aligned with true nature. They are free from the anxiety of being found out, because there is nothing hidden to uncover. The real you is who you are when no one is around. If we can be that person consistently honest, genuine, and unselfish, then we have understood what making thought sincere truly means. One day, all the disciples went to their master and said, "Master, we would like to go on a pilgrimage to improve our cultivation." "Okay," said the master, "then do me a favor. Please take this bitter gourd along with you, and whichever temple you visit, place it in the altar of the deity, take the blessings and bring it back." So, not only the disciples, but the bitter gourd also went on pilgrimage, temple to temple. When they came back, the master said, "Cook the bitter gourd and serve it to me." The disciples cooked the bitter gourd and served it to the master. The master took a bite and exclaimed, "How surprising!" "What surprises you, master?" asked the disciples. "Even after visiting so many temples, the bitter gourd is still bitter." "Master, that is simply its nature," the disciples said. "Exactly," the master replied. "This is what I want you to understand. No matter how many pilgrimages you make, if your heart remains unchanged, you will still be the same. True cultivation is not about where your body travels, but where your heart truly stands. Without sincerity, all outer actions are just like carrying a bitter gourd from place to place. The inside remains the same. This way, the story clearly connects the bitter gourd to unchanged inner thoughts and warns against self-deception, which is exactly the heart of making thought sincere. In the story, the bitter gourd represents unchanged inner thoughts and warns against self-deception, which is making thought sincere. Unless you change your inner thoughts, a pilgrimage will make no difference. Real change begins within. Just as the bitter gourd stays bitter, no matter how many holy places it visits, our character will not truly improve unless we transform our heart. Outward actions such as pilgrimages, rituals, Good appearances may impress others, but without sincerity and honesty toward ourselves, the inside remains the same. True growth comes when we stop pretending, face our own flaws, and let our thoughts be shaped by truth. If we do not change ourselves, no one, no classics or sutras, and no pilgrimage can make any difference in our lives. When petty persons are at leisure and alone, they may do all manner of evil. Yet, upon seeing a junzi, they feel ashamed, conceal their evil, and display their goodness. But others can see them as clearly as if their very lungs and liver were exposed. What good is concealment? This is called sincerity within manifests itself without. Therefore, a junzi must watch over himself carefully when alone. This paragraph tells us that when petty persons are alone and unoccupied, they may indulge in all sorts of wrongdoing. But when they see a junzi, a virtuous person, they suddenly feel ashamed, hide their faults, and display their good side. Yet, the text reminds us, their true nature is still visible, like seeing someone's lungs and liver exposed. In other words, their inner reality is not truly hidden. This is why the teaching says, sincerity within manifests itself without. The message is simple. Our inner life cannot be concealed forever. What we think and feel will eventually show up in our words, expressions, and actions. Pretending to be good works only for a short time, because sincerity or insincerity has a way of revealing itself naturally. That is why the great learning again reminds us, a junzi must watch over himself even when he is alone. Now, how does this apply to our life today? We live in a world where appearances can be managed more than ever. We can choose what to post on social media, what photos to share, what words to say in public. It is easy to give the impression of kindness, honesty, or discipline while being careless, selfish, or dishonest when no one is watching. But here is the truth. People sense who we really are. Over time, the way we think shapes the way we speak, the way we act, and the choices we make. Think about trust in a workplace. If someone acts respectful in meetings, but gossips or manipulates in private, others will eventually notice. Or consider friendships. If we only appear caring when it benefits us, sooner or later, the gap between appearance and reality will show. In both cases, what is within will find its way out. The great learning is not merely warning against being caught. It is urging us to live in such a way that there is nothing to hide. Sincerity means that the person we are in public and the person we are in private are the same. When this happens, we don't need to keep up an act, and others can trust us fully. So, when the text says a junzi must watch over himself when alone, it is not about living in fear of exposure. It is about choosing to live with integrity at all times, because what is inside us will inevitably become visible to the world. An elegant woman entered the plane and looked for her seat. She saw that her seat was next to a man who had no hands. The woman was hesitant to sit next to the handicapped person, so she said to the flight attendant, "I will not be able to travel comfortably in this seat, as the person sitting in the adjacent seat does not have his hands. I request to change the seat." Hearing this, the flight attendant asked, "Ma'am, can you please give me the reason why you want to change your seat?" The beautiful woman replied, "I don't like handicapped people. I will not feel comfortable sitting next to this kind of people." The flight attendant was shocked to hear this from the seemingly educated and polite woman. But the arrogant woman once again insisted to the flight attendant. She then requested very loudly, "I cannot sit on that seat. Give me another seat." The flight attendant looked around in search of a vacant seat, but no seat was found available. So the flight attendant told the woman, "Ma'am, we are accountable for the convenience as well as comfort of passengers on the plane. Allow me to talk to the captain of the plane. Please have some patience till then." Saying that, the flight attendant went to the captain and told him the whole thing. After some time, she returned and said to the woman, "Ma'am, we are very sorry for the inconvenience. And luckily there is one vacant seat left in this entire plane, and that is in first class. I spoke to our team, and they took an extraordinary decision, upgrading a passenger from economy class to the first class. This kind of arrangement is the first time in the history of our company." The arrogant woman was overjoyed to hear that, but before she could even say something, the flight attendant moved straight to the handicapped person. The flight attendant politely asked him, "Sir, will you please move to the first class? Because we are accountable for the convenience as well as comfort of passengers on the plane. We don't want you to be upset by traveling with such a rude passenger sitting beside you." Then all the passengers clapped and applauded the decision. The beautiful woman could no longer raise her head out of shame. The handicapped man then stood up and said, "I am a veteran, and I lost both my hands during an operation. In fact, when I first heard the lady's request, I wondered for whose safety I had risked my life and lost my hands. But seeing all your reactions now, I feel proud of myself. I also feel proud that I lost both my hands for the sake of my country and fellow citizens like all of you." As he said this, he slowly walked to first class, leaving the arrogant woman sitting with her head bowed in deep shame. This story reflects the teaching from the great learning. Sincerity within manifests itself without. The arrogant woman tried to hide her prejudice behind a show of elegance, but her words revealed her true feelings to everyone. She might have looked refined on the outside, but her lack of honesty and kindness was as clear as if her heart were laid open. In contrast, the veteran did not need to speak much about his sacrifice. His dignity and quiet strength naturally earned the respect of the whole cabin. The woman's shame in the face of the veteran's honor is just what the great learning describes. When small-minded people meet a junzi, a person of virtue, they feel exposed and try to cover their faults. But hiding is useless because our true nature will always show through our words, actions, and even our expressions. This is why Confucius teaches that a junzi must watch over himself even when alone. Our inner state cannot stay hidden forever. It will come out in moments of stress, discomfort, or challenge. The veteran's sincerity and the woman's prejudice both came out for all to see. The story reminds us to be honest in our hearts, so that what we show to the world will bring respect, not shame. Zhengzi said, "When one is alone, it is as if 10 pairs of eyes are watching and 10 hands are pointing. How stern and awe-inspiring this is! The rich adorn their houses, while the virtuous cultivate their virtues. When the mind is broad, the body is at ease. Therefore, a junzi, a virtuous man, must make his thoughts sincere." Zhengzi, one of Confucius' most devoted disciples, said, "When one is alone, it is as if 10 pairs of eyes are watching and 10 hands are pointing." This is a vivid image of self-awareness. It reminds us that even when alone, We should live as though our actions are visible to others. This is not about living in fear of judgment, but about holding ourselves to the same standard in private as in public. Such awareness is both stern and awe-inspiring. It demands courage and discipline. The passage then draws a comparison. The rich may decorate their homes with expensive ornaments, but the virtuous decorate themselves by cultivating their moral character. Outer beauty and comfort are temporary. Inner virtue is lasting and unshakable. It also says, when the mind is broad, the body is at ease. A broad mind means a generous, honest, and open heart, free from deceit or pettiness. When we carry no guilt, grudges, or hidden wrongs, our body feels light and at peace. This inner comfort is worth more than any luxury. That is why the passage concludes, therefore, a junzi must make his thoughts sincere. Sincerity is the root from which all virtues grow. Without it, we might look good on the outside, but feel restless and uneasy inside. With it, we can face ourselves and the world without fear. In today's world, it's easy to act differently depending on who is watching, whether it's our boss, our friends, or our family members. But the standard of the junzi is consistent character. Imagine living so truthfully that even if all your private actions were recorded and shown to the world, you would have nothing to hide. That is the freedom and peace that come from making our thoughts sincere. People often pay more for a brand name product, not just for its logo, but for the trust that comes with it. The best brands earn this trust by being honest and focusing on quality, making the best product they can, instead of cutting corners to make more money. This reflects Confucius' teaching. The rich adorn their houses, while the virtuous cultivate their virtues. Decorating a house is like promoting a product with flashy packaging or marketing things that look good but do not guarantee substance. Cultivating virtue is like improving product quality, making sure it works well and delivers real value, even if it means smaller short-term profit. A junzi or virtuous person lives as if even when alone 10 eyes are watching. Similarly, an honest business keeps its standards high even when no one is checking, never letting hidden flaws pass. Brands that follow this path earn lasting loyalty because their quality speaks for itself. Confucius reminds us that true value comes from within. Lasting respect, whether for a person or a business, comes from sincerity and substance, not just outward appearance. Every day, our mind produces many different thoughts. Some are good, helpful, and aligned with truth, while others are not and can lead us astray. In the practice of self-cultivation, we should pay close attention to our thoughts and focus on making them sincere and genuine. At first, it is natural to have many unhelpful or distracted thoughts, but with patience, reflection, and awareness, the number of good and sincere thoughts gradually increases. Over time, through constant effort, we can reach a point where almost all of our thoughts are virtuous and true. Cultivating this inner clarity and sincerity is the foundation for developing strong character, making wise choices, and living in harmony with our true nature. The phrase, self-cultivation lies in the rectification of the mind, means when feeling angry, the mind is not rectified. When feeling fearful, the mind is not rectified. When overly indulging in pleasure, the mind is not rectified. When feeling anxious, the mind is not rectified. When we read the phrase, self-cultivation lies in the rectification of the mind, it might sound abstract at first, but what it really means is simple. Our personal growth, our ability to act rightly, and our moral character all begin with the mind. If the mind is not pure and clear, no matter what we do outwardly, our actions will be flawed or inconsistent. Think about anger. When we are angry, our judgment becomes clouded. We may say words we regret, make decisions that harm ourselves or others, or act in ways that go against our values. Fear works in a similar way. When we are afraid, we hesitate, overreact, or avoid responsibility, and our mind is unsettled and confused. Then there is overindulgence, giving in too much to pleasure. This could include food, entertainment, shopping, or even social media. These things may feel good for a moment, but they distract the mind and prevent us from focusing on what truly matters. Anxiety is another common challenge today. Worrying about work, relationships, health, or the future makes it difficult to think clearly and act wisely. Self-cultivation is often seen as outward behavior or appearances, but it is not just about these alone. It begins with the mind. Observing our emotions, understanding them, and learning to regulate them is the first and most important step. A mind that is clear, steady, and sincere allows us to act thoughtfully, respond appropriately to situations, and grow as a person in both character and wisdom. In short, rectifying the mind is the foundation of becoming a zhizhi, a person of virtue and integrity. Without this inner purity and clarity, all our efforts at self-improvement will be unstable and incomplete, no matter how disciplined or impressive we appear on the outside. A senior monk was serving the Buddha. One day, after returning from alms, he noticed a beautiful mango grove and thought it would be a perfect place to meditate. He asked the Buddha for permission to go there, but the Buddha was alone and told him to wait until some other monks come back. The monk was eager to go and asked several times, until finally the Buddha said he could go. The monk went to the mango grove, sat under a tree, and tried to meditate. He stayed there all day, but his mind kept wandering, and he could not make any progress. When he returned in the evening, he told the Buddha that his thoughts had been filled with desires for pleasure, feelings of anger or ill will, and thoughts about harming others. The Buddha explained that the mind is easily distracted and restless, and therefore one must learn to control it. Meditation and self-cultivation are not about the place or comfort, but about training the mind to remain steady and focused. The story illustrates how a serene environment alone cannot guarantee inner peace. The senior monk, eager to meditate in a beautiful mango grove, found his mind still restless and distracted. Despite the ideal environment, he struggled with desires, anger, and harmful thoughts. The Buddha's lesson is clear. True meditation isn't about external comfort, but about mastering the mind. A peaceful mind can meditate anywhere, while an unsettled one remains unsettled even in perfect surroundings. The key point is that spiritual growth depends on self-discipline and mental control, not just favorable conditions. Like the monk, we often seek ideal circumstances for progress, but real transformation begins within by making our thoughts sincere and then rectifying our mind, regardless of the environment. When the mind is distracted by these emotions, it is as if it were not present in the body. One may look, yet see nothing. One may listen, yet hear nothing. One may eat, yet taste nothing. Therefore, self-cultivation lies in the rectification of the mind. When the mind is clouded by emotions like anger, fear, desire, or anxiety, it is as if we are not truly present in our own body. Our awareness is scattered, and we fail to fully experience life. Zhizhi uses vivid examples to illustrate this. One may look at something, yet see nothing. One may listen, yet hear nothing. One may eat, yet taste nothing. These examples show how a distracted mind disconnects us from reality. Even though our senses are working, we do not truly perceive the world around us because our attention is caught by internal turmoil. This is why self-cultivation begins with the rectification of the mind. Only when the mind is clear, steady, and sincere can we fully engage with the world, learn effectively, and act rightly. It is not enough to follow rituals, study books, or perform duties outwardly. It must come from within to be truly virtuous. Rectifying the mind is the first step towards self-cultivation. A focused and calm mind allows true understanding, sincere action, and genuine moral development. In a city, a famous hotel owner built a swimming pool in his hotel. The best Italian tiles were installed around it, but due to the mason's mistake, one tile was missing. Every visitor would notice the beauty of the tiles and be amazed at how nice they looked. They would look closely and enjoy them. But as soon as they saw the missing tile, they could not stop staring at it. From that moment on, they could no longer see the beauty of the other tiles. Every person leaving the pool complained that one tile was missing. Among thousands of tiles, that single missing one dominated their thoughts. People felt disappointed that even after so much effort to make it perfect, one tile was missing. Many wondered how it could be fixed. Yet no one left happy, and the beautiful swimming pool failed to bring joy to the people. In fact, that missing tile was part of a psychological experiment. It proved that our attention naturally focuses on flaws. No matter how beautiful something is, our eyes are drawn to what is lacking. We often focus on what is missing rather than what is present, and dwell on the negative instead of the positive. This becomes one of the greatest reasons our happiness is stolen. Imagine you are in a museum, looking up at a beautiful ceiling made of thousands of tiles. As you admire it, you notice that one tile is missing. The rest of the ceiling is perfect, yet your eyes keep returning to that missing spot. This is called the missing tile syndrome. Think about it. God gave us 32 teeth, but our tongue always finds the broken one. Why do we notice the one piece of furniture out of place at home, instead of the many that are perfectly arranged? There are countless moments in life when we let a single shortcoming make us unhappy. Most people dwell on what they lack instead of appreciating what they already have. The missing tile steals our focus and joys. It can cause physical and mental stress. Even if our lives are filled with blessings, we may obsess so much over what is missing that it overshadows our daily happiness. Where we direct our attention is in our own hands. The missing tile syndrome is a major obstacle to happiness and contentment. But if we cultivate Tao and practice it in our daily lives, we can learn to accept our circumstances, be grateful, and find contentment in what we already have. This is the best way to overcome the missing tile syndrome. We will not allow it to steal our happiness. Let us thank the gods and Buddhas for the tiles in our lives and make our lives better and happier. Mo Yan is a famous contemporary Chinese writer. In 2012, he became the country's first winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. Here is an inspiring article from Mo Yan. Sometimes you have something on your mind and you want to talk to someone about it. You call, but they don't answer. You decide to sleep instead. The next day they call you back, but by then you're no longer in the mood to talk. Sometimes you see a piece of clothing you really like, but they don't have your size. A few days later, your size is in stock, but you've already lost the desire to buy it. Once you fell in love with someone so deeply, and you thought you would never love anyone like that again. Yet years later, the memories grow faint. All those passions, impulses, attachments, and reluctance to let go quietly fade with time. So why cling so tightly? Why hold on to something that should be let go? You are the author of your own life. Why write a story that is too hard to live? In time, you will understand that everything you thought you could never get through will eventually pass. Sometimes it is our own overthinking that makes us suffer. My temper has driven many people away, but it has also left me with the truest ones. Life will always bring moments of uncertainty, but we have no choice except to face them with courage. A friend who understands your tears is worth more than a crowd of friends who only understand your smile. Some people are kind to you because you are kind to them. Some are kind because they truly see your worth. Happiness has no shortcuts and no flawless perfection. It can only be built with sincerity and genuine care. Mo Yan's reflections remind us that desires, attachments, and impulses fade with time, and clinging to them makes our thoughts insincere and clouds our true nature. When overthinking, anger, or longing dominate, the true nature becomes obscured. But when we let go of what should be released, we recover clarity and harmony within. Life's uncertainties are inevitable, yet a sincere and rectified mind allows us to face them with courage, preserving both our integrity and our true self. Chapters 6 and 7 explore the third, making thoughts sincere, and fourth, rectifying mind, of the 8 steps of learning in detail. And that is what we covered today. I will end my speech here. For any mistakes I made, I apologize to God and Buddhas, and your suggestions are welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.